Especially after the hanging of Yaqub Memon, the death penalty discourse in India has taken a toll, with many civil activists, lawyers, and eminent intellectuals coming forth with a demand to abolish this practice. Amidst this, the political class missed no chance in communalizing the event for their political purposes. But the question is there: is death penalty really a deterrent? Has this practice ever conveyed the message to the society? Has this practice ever given a sense of justice granted to the victims of heinous crimes? Let's talk a bit on this. Going by the facts, I would like to highlight some of the basic points. According to the National Crime Records Bureau, between 2004 to 2013, 1,303 verdicts awarded the death penalty. However, only 4 have been executed till the date, and they are namely the Dhananjay Chatterjee, Kasab, Afzal Guru, and recently hanged Yaqub Memon. And what we should note, that there are many laws that facilitates the provisions of death penalty, as around 22 legislations are there under which the death penalty could be awarded. And we talk about the global arena of this particular concept, then we will find that around 36 countries still practice death penalty in their nations. 103 have completely abolished it for all crimes. Around 6 have abolished it for ordinary crimes while maintaining it for the special circumstances like war crimes, etc. And around 50 countries have abolished it as de facto, as they have not used it, the punishment of death penalty for more than 10 years or more under a suspension and so on. But what we may find is this, that the idea of death penalty is somewhat that promotes the idea of retaliatory justice, and it could be very dangerous for any of the democratic societies. If we go by another set of facts, we would find that sometimes due to the irreversible nature of death penalty, that is, after a convict is executed, it becomes grave injustice when the proof of innocence arrives after his execution. And the matter is not just my imagination. Actually, we have witnessed this grave injustice in United States, where around 400 convicted facing death penalty were declared innocent just because of the roof that arrived later. But it was too late to do something. I mean, they have been already executed. Not going so far, even when you talk about the Akshardham attack, that is, Adam Bhai Ajmeri along with 2 others were acquitted by the Supreme Court after being on the death row for 8 years. And we must never forget that Supreme Court in that very case categorically stated that they were illegally framed for all the charges. So the question related to death penalty remains very substantive. If one convicted is kept on death row for several years, the act in itself is like to kill that person psychologically. And when he is acquitted, it hardly helps that person to come out and live a healthy life once again. So the basic idea of death penalty, what in my opinion sometimes becomes very dangerous for the idea of real justice. But what is the right way to move forward? First of all, we must adhere a position that the issue of death penalty must be discussed when there is no hanging near the timetable. The reason is that when we discuss these matters at the time of any hanging, the whole issue gets politicized, as it was the case of Yaqub Memon, which polarizes the society into 2 camps that are formed not on the basis of conscience or reason, but on the basis of political propagandas coined by the opinion leaders, mainly the politicians. So, the abolishment of death penalty must be deliberately brought into, no doubt about it. It has to be an evolutionary process. We must take into account that United Nations for last 4 occasions have adopted the resolutions for abolishment of death penalty in India, in the globe, But India, along with many other nations like the US and Japan, has nodded their disagreement with that. So the point is to wait and move towards a popular consensus which has to be generated in the nation amidst the wave of time and progress. I would also like to point an argument that there has been a wide range of variation and ambiguity in the judicial arena while awarding the death sentences. I mean, deciding the existence of grave or heinous crimes remains in the grey era where the specific decisions of a specific judge matters more than anything else. I'm saying so this because studies show us that after 1994, even the Supreme Court in India has been very inconsistent about that. And the matter is worse when we talk about the trial courts. It is seen that around 28 to 30% of the death penalty awarded by the trial courts since last decade are acquitted. So this grey area of heinous crimes has to be addressed by various reports of the Law Commission in future, and in my opinion even the Supreme Court could take the deliberation. Now let us try to articulate the information that what factors actually rules the idea of death penalty in India. Like firstly we should talk about impact of socio-economic factors. Before this I must say that I don't mean to be suspicious over Indian judiciary. Socioeconomic factors are something different. It means that sometimes poor and marginalized sections, which do consist of minority sections, are not able to hire good lawyers, not able to spend money, or not able to fight the case for a long period of time, which do result in increasing the probability of landing them as convicts. And it's not a philosophy but an empirical proven fact that most of the death row convicted do belong to the marginalized sections. Secondly, the death penalty is in itself a product of an evolutionary process. So in order to end it, in order to wipe it, in order to get rid out of it, we must resort to an evolutionary method. But the fact that death penalty works as a deterrent is really doubtful and needs to be questioned time and again for the evolutionary wipeout of this provision. The contemplation must go on.